lawsuits, fanboy furor, and a less than feverish reception after its UK premiere, the graphic novel The Watchmen is hitting theaters in the U.S.
Watchmen, one of us died tonight. Somebody knows why. Somebody knows.
I designed the experience for myself. You know, like when I first read the graphic novel, that first time, the feelings I got from it, not knowing what it was going to be, thinking, oh, this is a superhero thing, and then reading it going like, holy shit, these guys are crazy. Like, these guys have real problems. You know, I feel like that experience in some ways is as valid as any experience with it, because it's the experience that I want people to come to the movie thinking it's a superhero movie and getting their brains blown out by it a little bit.
I feel fear for the last time.
Well, I mean, I guess what happened was the studio finally called me and was like, you know, I was on post on 300, and they called me and said, hey, do you want to we have a script for a movie. We think it's based on a graphic novel. It's called Watchmen. And I'm like, yeah, it's definitely based on a graphic novel. I actually have it right here. So, I mean, I think that process for me was about what they wanted it to be, a PG-13, normal movie. It wasn't hard to accept the project as a thing to try and do, because I knew if I didn't, you know, they would just go down the street and film it with someone else, and it would just be, it'd be that probably.
John thinks that there's going to be a nuclear war.
What if that's why someone wants us out of the way? So we can't do anything to stop it. An attack on one is an attack on all of us.
There's a lot of excitement going on among the fanboys community and also in the business community, because this project has meant a lot of things for a lot of different people.
Absolutely. It's been a project that's been in development for 16, 17 years. Originally it was developed by the Fox studio, then Warner Brothers eventually picked it up. Then the original studio, Fox, brought a lawsuit against Warner Brothers trying to prevent the movie from being released, saying that they had some rights in it. That was resolved about 6 weeks before the film's release. Now we're finally getting to see it in theaters.
And the early word apparently is, though, that it's just not as good as people wanted it to be.
Yeah, the film premiered in London, and the reviews were mixed. Some people were saying that it's a little hard to follow, that it's very much a comic book adaptation for the fans, not necessarily. This thing is not The Dark Knight.
We can save this world.
The cast is mostly names that you don't know. I mean, do people really know, you know, Jackie Earle Haley, Malin Ackerman?
Jeffrey Dean Morgan, yeah. Billy Crudup.
But there's not a name above the title on this. It's really about the material itself.
Right, and they're also banking on Zach Snyder's, you know, 300 fame.
It doesn't take a genius to see the world has problems.
Yeah, but it takes a room full of morons who think they're small enough for you to handle.
It is hard R, and it is sort of Snyder's MO to sort of take the source material and bring it and make it come to life. He's taking panels and reconstructing the panels on the screen. But what worked in 300, it's a straight up, like, it's a violent movie with a lot of action. You can throw in a lot of different cool panel shots and stuff, and angles and mutants and stuff, and it works on that level. But with Watchmen, it's a very dense story. It's not about action, even though it is very violent. It talks about politics. There's a lot of like themes of like who watches, you know, who's in charge, and power, and what it does to people.
The Ozymandias here. You're the smartest man on the sender.
You know, the point of it, and Zach fought for this for the beginning, was not only to stay, you know, stay true to the novel, and in doing that, and staying true to that, you know, it's going to be rated R. It's going to be vicious. The violence in it is violent. It's not a watered down version of what the book is. It's bringing that comic book to life. And imagine how pissed off the fans of Watchmen would be if we had watered it down. You know, look, this is a movie for adults. There's a reason it's got an R rating on it. It's not a little kid superhero movie. This is an adult movie, and I have a hard time putting a superhero even in front of it, because it's so much more than just that.
Look, Rorschach and I have made real headway on the gang problem by working together.
We can do so much more.
That R rating is due in part to a major motion picture first. Director Zach Snyder's decision to include male superhero frontal nudity.
They explain the name has been chosen for the ominous associations it will raise in America's enemies.
Absolutely, especially like, you know, CGI expensive character that's like basically naked. I mean, the studio asked me, like, is there any way we could, like, could he just be like a Ken doll? Could he just have like a bump? I'm like, he's supposed to be like having sex with his girlfriend, so like I don't know how he changes his body, but that just really upsetting to think that he has to grow something that doesn't happen. Anyway, not to get too graphic.
And win and flicker, 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 bang!
They did a complete laser scan of my body, and then they did really high definition photography of all of my features so that they could then download that and create a three-dimensional version of me, which they would then give me a little haircut and shade me blue and put me on a much more well-built body. And then, did you ever see that scene in Weird Science when they're kind of creating their dream girl and they're
Kelly LeBrock, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I think that's kind of what they did, you know, with the body. They stretch it out a little bit. They give me some shadows, and I feel like that's gone unnoticed, and I appreciate you recognizing it. You're gonna hear a lot about computers. But,
don't believe it.
Yeah, don't believe it. They call me Dr. Manhattan.